What famous person needs to be ignored and shunned into obscurity? Dr. Luke. He's a music producer who's worked with most pop musicians like Katy Perry, Kelly Clarkson, Britney Spears and others and is still getting work now. And the reason why he shouldn't get any work at all is because the stuff he's making now is nothing but using samples and changing up nothing about them. And because he physically, verbally, emotionally and sexually abused Kesha, which all he got was a slap on the wrist for. And people still work with him like Doja Cat, Nicki Minaj, and other female rappers, mostly Nicki though. Also 6ix9ine and, just get rid of him. So I'm originally from Houston and I attended Lakewood about 10 years ago because my ex was an active member. We didn't attend on a Sunday as it was very crowded, but Lakewood offers a Wednesday evening service that is like 25% of the crowd, so seating is liberal and plenty of space. We only went a handful of times because for me it was more voyeurism whereas my ex was diehard about Jesus. Part of the service is the collection plates where you give money, and I sht you not, a woman sat in front of me, opened an envelope and counted out $500 to place in the collection plate. This woman did not appear well off by any means, and her teenage son sat next to her looked so upset/uneasy about his mom just handing out of cash to the Austin brand. It disturbed me enough to never return and also to dump the boyfriend. Any religion that convinces people to give up such an amount when they simply cannot afford it is toxic and shouldn't exist. I would watch my parents give around $1,000 per week to their cult-type church. The fun parts were 1, they had 6 kids and 2, my parents always claimed we didn't have money for basically anything that we wanted to do. I would watch my dad spend hundreds on guns or gun accessories, but they would split 1 carton of eggnog between all of us around Christmas, but they somehow always found a sht ton of money to give to the church. Kids wearing clothes with holes in them, but yeah. Give it to that grifting pastor instead. When I was a kid, I used to watch the last few minutes of his show before Pokemon came on. He once did a sermon saying it's sinful to tell your children that you're proud of them because pride is a sin. Even back then, I thought it was ridiculous that he couldn't discern between 2 definitions of pride. Probably intentional on his part regardless. And he only got more abhorrent in the years afterwards. I also would see the last few minutes of his show before Pokemon as a kid. One morning me and my sister had to get up earlier than usual for some reason. And he was going on and on about money. Come to me. Now, just some wacko prosperity preacher sht, and I still make references to that like 25 years later because it was so absurd and we both thought it was hysterical. Me and a friend have adapted it for when we're out in the woods hoping to find something like mushrooms. Come to me. Now. And sht. And remember. Jesus is Lord. The Bible even warns about people like Copeland, beware of false prophets, who come to you in sheep's clothing, but underneath are ravenous wolves. By their fruits you will know them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? Just so, every good tree bears good fruit, and a rotten tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a rotten tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit will be cut down and thrown into the fire. So by their fruits you will know them. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not drive out demons in your name? Did we not do mighty deeds in your name? Then I will declare to them solemnly, I never knew you. Depart from me, you evildoers. Seconded. As someone struggling with Onyo ATM, and trying to get help that isn't more than superficial, it annoys me how some people are making it appear to be this sort of fun lifestyle. Once it starts it takes a lot of treatment just to help you escape the mental trap of I need to eat less/restrict food to be thin or good/I don't deserve food or the 1001 reasons people end up developing it. And then you also have a long struggle to reach a healthy weight again and God help you if you end up damaging your due to the disorder. I wish people would stop glamorizing anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, etc. on YouTube, TikTok, or wherever they do it. Take this with a grain of salt, but about a month ago, I was bored at work and bouncing around the internet. Stopped on some article on a gossip site where it said that Prince Charles had to take Andrew into a room and basically slowly, painfully spell out for him that he was pretty much a pariah and would never be able to serve in his royal capacities ever again. Couldn't really give a sht about the royals, but the idea that the former troubled scapegoat brother had to take his golden child brother into a room and basically give him a giant dressing down and tell him what a disgusting he is made me very, very happy. Edit, I'm the worst with run-on sentences. Edit 2, here's a link to the article. Thanks to you/Armuk for finding it. To be fair, the current extended royal family is quite large. There's 3 princes and 1 princess that are cousins to the queen, which still hold the title of prince because they were born during the reign of their uncle, George VI. Then we have the children of Princess Margaret, which don't have royal titles but are still part of the family. After that Andrew, Edward, Anne and their children, most of which also don't have royal titles. Precisely. Basically, unless they're doing royal duties, whatever that actually entails these days, then he wants them to earn their own money and live in a non-royal property. Mind you, many of them already do this, they just have a bit of nepotism to help them get a head start on their careers. Andrew is the only one that insisted that his girls have the title princess because he wanted them to appear as important as William and Harry. Anne and Edward have kept their kids out of the limelight. Well, Zara doesn't count, the girl trained hard for those medals. From what's been coming out over the last few months, that's pretty much what's been happening the last few years. Much of the duties and decision-making had been handed over to Charles. When everything came out about Andrew, Elizabeth left it to Charles because she hadn't the heart. Charles immediately cancelled Andrew's birthday party, then stripped him of his duties. In that order. Cancelling his birthday party first was the best part. I had a very brief period where I watched him because of all the traction with his conspiracy videos, and his docu-series on Jake Paul was a pretty interesting concept, though very controversial in retrospect, and he seemed to have ditched his shock edgelord humor. But then obviously a lot of SHT resurfaced that was pretty hidden, so that was it for me. I King hate how acceptable people find R. Kelly. That stuff about him was on public record for years, and even then that documentary only knocked him for as long as people remembered it properly. It's completely FKed that we live in a world where accusations like that fly around and there's so much uncertainty around them, but then one of the people who is very clearly guilty and has been proved as such more than once seems to get off lightly every time anyone remembers he even did anything. I actually went to his church once. I completely see the appeal. It's not gospel in the slightest. It's a motivational speaker with a religious flair. Then they basically have a rock concert for the rest of the service, followed by a segment showing how your donations have gone to help underprivileged communities. All of this, mind you, is taking place in the old Astrodome. Frankly, it's feel-good porn for 2 hours on a Sunday morning. Dude is a charlatan, but the people there know what they are paying for. There's so many subreddits whose whole entire purpose and content is basically just tabloid addiction/outrage porn fodder. Half of it is fake or misrepresented as hell, too, but people do not care. If you point out the topic of the post was misrepresented or just straight up fake, the people will lose it. They needed that hit of superiority, and now you've made them feel worse than before they saw the post, because they feel like it's implied they weren't smart enough to spot the BS you pointed out. Don't try unless you're feeling brave and want to fend off ridiculous comments from addicts for hours. A while ago the band Churches did a song with Marshmello and then later cut ties with him after he decided to do a song with Chris Brown. Chris then said of the band, "These are the type of people you hope walk in front of a bus," or something along those lines. The female lead singer of Churches then received threats of murder and rape from Chris Brown's fans and had to leave social media for a while. Honestly, this man is a cretin who deserved to have any fame stripped away from him, and any fans of his that condone this kind of behavior are scum too.